where would you say your level of anger is when you met your temper, like your temperament? Where would you say yours is at?
Now, this is overall, or we're talking about in that particular situation?
Overall, meaning average out for the past. You're over 50, so average out the past 30 years.
Oh,
meaning, yeah, give yourself a 30-year. I know what my number would be. So after you tell yours, I'll tell you what mine is. I said over Jesus's time period, I would say Jesus, his temper is at a 3, right? God's temper and all that would be, to me, somewhere between 5 and 6, right? A 10, my father's temper would be at a 9 or 10, right? The only person I know, based on my reading of a lot of stuff, the person who is perfect in their temper would be Martin Luther King, because if anybody can hit you and put dogs on you and you stay nonviolent, I gotta put you down there. You know what I'm saying? You know, and meaning, I'm not saying that Martin Luther King is better than Jesus,
right?
But I'm trying not to be cliche. What I'm trying to do in this is, you marriage ministry and you preaching ministry, and even you guys do that. And love on Jesus. Jesus perfect. Shut up.
Right.
In here, this is divorce ministry. We're talking about Jesus kicked over table. Do you know what Phil said yesterday? The other day? We were talking. I said, hey, Phil, love your wife like Christ loved the church, and he gave himself for it. Right? He said, and you have to hear, I think we did record. If we didn't record, I'm going to get him on to talk more about it. He said, love your wife like Christ loved the church. And he was willing to turn over a table for her. He was willing to cast out demons into pigs for her. He was willing to raise the dead for her. It wasn't just the proverbial lay down your life. Come on.
Okay.
In other words, look at Jesus in total. And so that's why I put him at a 3. Because he did put some temper on the board. Now listen. Martin Luther King, one thing that pisses me off is that anybody that would talk about Martin Luther King having an affair with somebody, forget y'all. You know why I forget you?
That's just hate being thrown up.
Right. You know why? Because here's the thing. Number one, you wouldn't know about Martin Luther King having an affair if COINTELPRO did not tap his phone calls and record his movements. They were constantly harassing him. Forget about your own infidelity. Think about all the times that you was that got you in a situation where you got this kid, that kid, this drama, right? You ain't nobody got no recordings of you. You might have some recordings of you, but it ain't national. And listen, it wasn't given to your wife it was not given to your wife by people who wanted to psychologically mess you up and mess your marriage up. Exactly. Okay? You are your decisions, husband, your decisions, woman, were your decisions. Martin Luther King's decisions, pressure points all the time. Just like Jesus had pressure points, everybody got pressure points. Right. Now, what I'm saying is, to me, Martin Luther King is one of our best examples of somebody who did not have a temper. Malcolm X, let's put Malcolm X right around 3. Okay?
I'll see that.
Right around 3, sometimes based on his rhetoric. Okay? And I'll say rhetoric like a bad thing, like his rhetoric. I'm saying Jesus' rhetoric.
The way he formed his words to present his arguments and make people think about where they're at.
Right.
Now that I can see.
Right? I would put Minister Louis Farrakhan's temperament, I would put it at a 1. Because Minister Louis Farrakhan, he didn't throw no punches at nobody.
Right.
He hasn't thrown. You have not seen him throw any punches at anybody based on my whatever. Mm-hmm. Rush Limbaugh. I would say his temperament or his temper is at a 1 or 2, because even though you can classify him as a racist, some people could, it was all in the freedom of speech realm. It was not in the physical punch somebody, beat him down. Okay? Right. Solange, who was that Solange who was that attacked physically Jay-Z in the elevator?
Oh, okay. I do not know. I'm not gonna...
You never saw that?
No, I never saw that.
Okay, let me think. What about the other elevator scenario? Ray Rice.
Ray Rice.
Okay? Now,
yeah.
that whatever. Let's put that roughly. I only know Ray Rice based on that video, because I don't even follow football. You follow football like that?
I follow football enough, and I have my own little theory on that too.
Okay, so why don't that's what I'm saying. So now you're understanding how my scale.
And this will help set my number.
Yes, exactly. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where I put on, so where would you put Ray Rice and his temper based what? Because you know Ray Rice more than I do.
Okay. Because the situation had a little backstory that nobody really got to hear until well after the story had broke, and all you saw was that scene in the elevator.
Right.
You didn't see everything that happened before that, for sure, and you didn't hear about everything that happened after that.
And in that video, by the time we saw it, it was 5 years old.
It was so far after the incident that it wasn't really in the public eye anymore, and now you have to go back and redo and bring up everything that happened and try to put the timeline together. But given everything that happened at that time, and even if because I don't want to, okay, given what I know about it now, I would say Ray Rice is sitting at about a 7.
Gotcha.
Only reason being because he actually did break that, step in and put hands and apply some sort of physical, I won't say punishment, but some sort of
physical force.
He exerted force toward another human being. The woman that he stood before God and said that he would provide, protect, and cherish and love and all that good stuff. And he put his hands on her. So that's a 7 to me. And that is.
What about his lady? What about his lady? Where would you put her temper at? Because if I don't know, I think if you saw it.
I don't remember her actually touching him at all. But there
I
have been times in the past that they actually had altercations, because this is the elevator was not the first one. It wasn't. There were other times in the past. So not going back over what I remember about that. Hers too would be just about as a 7, because she stood before God and said that I'll love and honor and respect this man.
But because Ray Rice is the big name, he's the name. I don't even know his wife's name.
Janae Rice Palmer.
Okay, thank you.
I remember that. I actually made a personal letter on Facebook, an open letter, basically saying to Janae Rice Palmer, I was like, I understand that how the situation was, and in you telling your story, it's all about exposure. The media made you out to be a victim in a sense, and the media made you out to be somebody who's basically standing up for domestic violence, period. Because that's what the NFL tried to spin it as. Domestic violence, period. So to get awareness of the cause and let people know that this is not, it doesn't just happen with you, it has happened with other players in the past. Ray Caruth, if anybody remembers that name, for the Panthers. He actually killed somebody. Okay? So it's like,
was it a white guy, black guy?
Black guy.
It was?
Mm-hmm. I remember.
He killed somebody? Ray Caruth?
Ray Caruth. Rae Caruth. Carruth, I believe it was. So, yeah, that was way before Ray Rice. Years before Ray Rice. But it's like, he's not the only one. And there was somebody on the San Francisco 49ers in the past that they overlooked because he was not melanated. Don't remember his name.
Oh, for real?
No, don't remember his name, but I'll look into that. But anyway, what it comes down to is they wanted so much. The NFL wanted to spin this so much to be just a regular standard domestic violence case. We're going to do this to Ray Rice, and it's going to go away. The Baltimore Ravens, we're going to do this to you. So he got double jeopardy for what happened, but he was allowed to play again. You see what I'm saying? But
right.
and that took a while, but he was allowed to play again. But the punishment wasn't severe enough, and they didn't feel like, okay, oh gosh, I'm messing what I'm trying to say, but I said that Janae Rice Palmer was supposed to have been, she got a bigger stage because of what happened to her. And it could have been that she would used it to completely trash him, completely knock him down and all that good stuff. But that's when she chose to stand up and say, hey, we had a fight. It happens. No
right. And matter of fact, it would have been detrimental to her. Theoretically, it might have been detrimental to her to turn on him because the thing I can't remember them saying was they got married after. Basically. That situation happened before they got married.
Yeah, right. That is correct. Yeah.
And so it was like they still got married after that. So she could talk about it, but all she'd be doing is fitting. She would be riding a wave that would have been detrimental to her own whatever. Because if that had happened to, if I was Ray Rice and my wife and me had an altercation like that, and then we get married after that, and then when it becomes public 3-4 years later, 2 years later, whatever it was, and then you ride against me, and after I've been, because obviously she's not the athlete that's making the money or whatever. Bless her heart for taking that punch. You know what I'm saying? And going through with the marriage. I believe most likely this is the thing. Well, let me finish my other point. Is that if my wife would have went out and rided against me in the media, we're gonna have problems at the house. Meaning, you might as well leave then.
Yeah. Leave.
If you're gonna ride against me because now you got a little bit of airtime and ride against me, and you married me after we come on, don't. So the thing about it is that what you were about to go into was your number, because I got a perspective of your number. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you put your temper meeting? I'm gonna call it wrath meter. Your wrath meter.
For the simple fact, and this is a fact, there was an incident between me and my first wife, my daughter's mother, and we weren't exactly happy about what was being bandied back and forth. And she raised her arms toward me, and I'm not completely sure what she was going to do, but my instinct was I took my right arm to grab her right arm. I took my left arm to grab her left arm and pulled them down to her side. Because first of all, if I hit her first, we got problems. If she hits me first, I may decide to hit her back in the heat of the moment. But if I do that, I'm keeping her from doing anything to me, and I'm protecting her from doing anything to me as well. That's just restraint. That's all that was.
Right.
Given that, because that has never happened in any other relationship I've ever had, no type of physical altercation whatsoever.
And obviously you saw it coming.
That's all coming.
You saw it coming, and so theoretically, that's defending yourself from actual harm.
Right.
But it's in the house.
Right.
And so if she could have lied about it or whatever, he grabbed my ass and that would be a lie, and she'd have to deal with that on her conscience. But you would have to deal with a court case. But go ahead, continue.
Right. So with that in mind, and given where everybody else could rank on these things, we're talking about Ray Rice at a 7. We're talking about Jesus at a 3, God at a 5 or 6, and Martin and Malcolm being a little bit lower than that. Okay, so here it is. I'm putting myself at a 4.
I would put you actually at a 2 or a 1.
A 2 or a 1.
Based on my view of you and my perspective. Why would you put yourself that high?
Well, in recent years, he's saying that he's never seen me hit the roof, come off the top rope, be a complete stark raving idiot. And that has happened over and over again between the years of 2018 and 2021 in my most recent marriage. Okay. And it wasn't even against her. It was more toward the situation that we were in. And
what are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
When you say anger, okay, anger.
I'm raising my voice.
Wrath,
I'm cursing. I'm going from one end of the house to the other. I'm not completely in my right mind. I am now angry to the point where I'm done suppressing it. I'm done taking the high road. I'm done trying to figure out how to make this the best possible thing. Trying to extract everything possible that's positive out of what's going on. Now I kind of don't care. I feel like I'm not heard now. I feel like I'm ignored. I'm minimized. I'm emasculated. I'm raising my voice now. That's what ended up happening with all of that. So up until then, definitely a 2 or 1. Definitely.
Gotcha. And now, see, here's the thing. Let me ask you something. This is the thing I want to ask you about the idea of what's called a man's bass in his voice, right? What is that based on your experience? What does it mean for a man to have bass in his voice? And what does it mean for a man to be the head of his household? Because I finished my other because I just thought of another point.
Right.
I just thought of another point that I need. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So, in saying head of the household and all of that, I mean, because it was obviously with me being a minister's kid, and I'm trying my best to do the right thing.
Your dad was a preacher?
Nah, my mom is a minister. She got the whole.
Really?
She founded the deaf ministry for a couple of churches. She
founded a deaf ministry?
Co-founded a deaf ministry for at least one church.
Oh, deaf.
Deaf. DEAF. Sign.
Wait a minute. This is saying oh, snaps.
Yeah, you got
the battery is low.
Oh, okay. All right, so wait a minute, where was I? A hearing impaired ministry, not deaf.
Oh.
So, my mom did that, and
wait
she's
a
been
minute,
doing it for years.
She does sign language?
She teaches sign language.
Do you know sign language?
I don't know enough because I didn't pick them. She gave me a sign. She gave me a sign she gave me a sign for the sign for B. I can't remember like that. I can't even remember. But I bring it down and change it to an R for the sign brother, and it was be like a B that's a B that's up and it comes down to an R.
Our sign language and gang signs, do they look the same to you?
It's hard to tell.
Please continue. Go ahead.
Okay. Gosh, now I can't remember my train.
No,
we're looking at my. Okay, so I said my mom was I'm an MK. So I'm trying to be best. I'm trying to I'm within the church and I'm thinking about what would God do, and sometimes I don't always have that in mind when I make some of these decisions that landed me in the situation I am now overall. But back then, as each thing is happening, I don't want to raise my voice. I don't want to do anything out of pocket. I'm still trying to maintain some level of respect. So, as these things were happening, or as these things were unfolding, I also realized, well, I'm wrong in all this. So, what right do I have? I mean, how do I look being in all righteous indignation about it? Why am I being righteously indignant about something I started? You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by you started and stuff like that? What does that mean?
I made decisions based on how I was feeling or how I was treated, and if I had to do over again, I would have. If I had to do it over again, I would have used a clearer mind to handle it differently, to the point where it didn't fall apart or it didn't.
Let me see that, and that's number 2. Mm-hmm. That's the second reason why I'm proud of him, is because men take responsibility for their actions more than a lot of women in relationships. A lot of women in relationships, from my experience and watching stuff,
might as well,
and dealing with it in my marriage, as well as in other things, because I've studied so many marriages. I go in there and I'm hanging out with them and I'm analyzing everything, because that's just the way my mind works. Now, what Dean and what a lot of men do on our own, without anybody prompting us, we self-analyze, we self-criticize, and we make ourselves better because we, for whatever reason, our logic helps us. And yes, there are men that fly off the handle. There are. But guess what? More times than will ever be credited to the man in pretty much any situation, more times the man has displayed patience at a high level. The man has demonstrated concern at such a high level that she is able to manipulate his concern and turn it against him. Because if she is picking at him,
poke the bear.
her picking is not credited as the reason. Because here's the thing. Don't blame the victim. In other words, if he flies off the handle and right?
If I do that.
Okay, so now she's hit below the belt with her words, right? Mm-hmm. Words will never hurt, right? But she hits below the belt with her words and he just smacked, right?
And the words triggered.
Right. Now, it's his action that is credited as the wrong thing. Her words, right? But here's the thing. Let's flip it. He says something, and she, guess what? Because he's a man, he should be able to take that punch. And then she can go cry to her parents or somebody. He said such and such, and then the man is brought the issue. Hey, you shouldn't have said that to your woman. You're not supposed to such and such. Now, meaning, here is the thing. Now, you ever heard of Patrice O'Neal? The comedian, yeah. One of the things that I learned from him, and I'm gonna tell you something, I bless it. The three things that helped me in my marriage, in addition to the Bible. Okay, in addition to the Bible, I've been in the Bible since I was 19 years old. By the time I'm in my 30s, I done lived the Bible, walked the Bible. I got it. I got it. But now I'm in situations where I see the scriptural pattern of what I need to do, and I've applied it. And as I'm applying it, I'm getting results. So I'm getting practical application. And now that practical application, I'm gonna tell you the three entities that really blessed me. Number one, Patrice O'Neal, and the statement I'm gonna tell you. Everybody Loves Raymond.
I remember that.
And King of Queens.
Okay.
Those two shows showed the arguing of husband and wife and the arguing of family. Oh my God. It's, if you watch those two shows, you will see, because that helped me form my points. I can't read the Bible and learn how to speak my points to my lady in a way that's gonna make her hear what I got to say. Okay? When we're talking, she has to hear what I have to say. Okay. And I've got to be patient enough to hear what she got to say. Now, so here's what Dean did that shows you. Listen, men, I'm gonna say it, 90%, 95% of men in a relationship with a woman, they take responsibility, and they take such a high level of responsibility that the woman will never, ever, ever feel the weight of her own screwed upness, of her own jacked upness. Don't have to, because he takes the brunt of it. Here's what Patrice O'Neal said. He said, anything that happened in a relationship, man, it's your fault. I when I went into marriage, before I ever heard Patrice O'Neal, I went into marriage knowing Christ is the head of man. Man is the head of his wife. And regardless whether you live it scripturally or not, United States is set up, head of the family is the man. It's just set up that way. When you have a scenario where the, quote, woman wears the pants of the family, or you're a purse-holding man or whatever, then society makes the man feel like bullcrap, like crap. And it makes the woman feel like, whatever. You're being too, Hillary Clinton being a woman in a pantsuit. She gets treated bogusly for being a dominant, possibly domineering woman. Women preachers gotta feel oppressed, right? Because they got the word, and God, you could tell God gives them the word, you could tell, but men, right? So our culture, what is that? It's a man's world, like James Brown said, but it's nothing without a woman's touch, right? So we're in that scenario, right? He functioned. When I got married, I functioned. I'm the head of the family. And what I did, he may not have done this way, but here's what I did. I lowered my expectations because I didn't want to be chauvinistic. Because I'm a product of all of these movements, the women's movement, women's suffrage. I'm a product of slavery. I'm a product of Ike Tina Turner movie where he raped her in the booth. So I don't even wanna. We didn't have, me and Valerie, we didn't have sex on our honeymoon. We didn't have sex for the first 18 months, like normal scenarios. Why? Because and I didn't make a push. Hey, baby, tonight is tonight the night type of bull crap, right? But we spent 4 years of courtship, and before that, I was celibate for 6 years. Celibate, 4 years of courtship, no sex, and then when we get married, no sex, and then 18 months, no sex. Now, there was not no, baby, you need to, no, because I'm a man of God. So I keep on enduring and enduring and enduring, just like him, enduring. And then people don't even know the whole story. Just like when he told the story earlier, he's telling the story in a way that's, I don't want to dishonor this person, I don't want to dishonor, I don't want to, right? Okay, that's a man doing that. A woman, a lot of times, they don't do that. They don't have the level of integrity that a man has. They just don't. And guess what? They don't have to. It's not required. It's not required for a woman to have the same level of integrity that a man has. They're not required. So guess what? Since they're not required to have it, then they don't desire to have integrity. So now, when I went into my marriage, I lowered the expectations. Guess what? You don't even have to cook dinner for me. I'll eat out. Stop eating out. Come home and eat. I eat. And I don't. So everything is making her comfortable. The weaker vessel, honor the woman as the. I did all of that. Yep. Okay? So by the time we get to year 4 of marriage, year 8 or so of the relationship, dude, can I speak my mind now finally? I've been providing, working the 2 jobs, blah, blah, blah. Same with his situation. Now check this out. This is what I'm trying to say. So Dean, in his scenario, he mentions he puts himself as a 4 on the tempermeter. It's not true. Jesus, here's the sermon part of it. Jesus was perfect in all his ways based on our belief system. Okay. Forget everybody else. You all who are not Christians, forget you for a minute. Jesus was perfect. So that means when we say did Jesus have wrath? Mm-hmm. No. He was perfect. Perfect. So that means he gets a perfect score. He gets whatever the perfect score of that question, he gets a perfect. We give him that credit because we adopted a philosophy. We adopted Jesus as our Lord and Savior, so we call him perfect and we look at him as perfect. And even the situations where he turned the tables over, even the situation where he cursed the fig tree, we even give God or Jesus credit for that was a good thing that he did. Why do we not do the same thing for Dean? It was a good thing for him to cuss around the house. If it was good for Jesus to turn the tables over, and he's still a man of God, just because he's angry and turning something over does not mean he's less than a man of God. Because guess what? Here's what you do for yourself. Outside, meaning listener, viewer.
Okay.
You as a viewer. I'll give you a real example. My buddy Corinthian.
Okay.
Corinthian and Joy had a discussion with me about a topic. In this topic, Joy said, Matt, you were reprobate in this area during that time. Then Corinthians said, Matt, you were blind, you were deaf, and you were fallen, and you still haven't gotten up. Now we're talking about a specific topic.
Okay.
That's what they said to me. And then another allied friend that knows at least Joy said, I'm reprobate, and that he gonna get out of God's way. So now these are my friends telling me this. Now this is what they feel. That's what they feel about me on this, right? Now, later on, I talked to each of them separately. When I'm talking to Corinthian, who said was blind, deaf, fallen, and I haven't gotten up, right? When we talked about other things that was on the same. It was the same type of topic, but now he's talking to me about the same topic, but he's testifying to me about what happened with him. In other words, what he perceives happened with me. I'm blind, deaf, fallen, and I haven't gotten up. And reprobate and, right? Yeah. But with him, same situation perceivably. In other words, the facts are basically what he perceived about me is the same facts, basically. Okay. Same thing, right? Here's how he phrased it about himself. This is how he phrased it. He said, I was in a